Finally, if none of that has convinced you that 1.0 is worth buying, if Kerbal isn't worth buying thus far, then this certainly will, right? Because they've redone a lot of how the career mode now feels, and the fact that they have the new resource system and a couple other things. But in particular, they did a little bit of changes to the tech tree, and we're going to take a look at that before we take a look at some of the stuff that I've done in my 40 to 50 hours of playing 1.0 thus far. Now, the most insignificant thing is there's some new, icons here. I appreciate the new icons. They're just not as significant as, some other things, such as being able to see where the tech tree ends up going. From the get-go, you can see the end results here. So you could kind of make a plan on what you're going to purchase before these wouldn't show up until you had the prerequisites to begin with, it was kind of cool, yet slightly annoying when you were trying to plan for certain things. You didn't quite know where things were at in the tech tree. So some new things here, right? So we have the drills, the mining excavators, and those drills can drill up resources that you find using the new scanners, which I will show you because I have one set up, which is why I went to my career mode. So you use the new drills, and then you drill that stuff, you put it in the holding tanks, you take the stuff from the holding tanks, and you convert it into fuel. So you can land something on the moon, completely run out of fuel while you're landing, and just have a little bit left, and you're like, I don't think I'm going to make it back to Kerbin. I'm going to need a rescue mission. And no longer do you need a rescue mission, because if you have these drills, you can then mine out some more, and it may take a while depending on where you're at, and we'll see that with the resource scanner. Then you can convert it into fuel, which will help you get back. It's really cool. It allows for several new types of missions that couldn't really be done in especially vanilla Kerbal before, and now it can. There's also new scanners, and there's several new tiers. There's a new xenon canister for the xenon engines, which is really cool, the ion engines. I like that because I always felt like that needed to be there. There's this new way of generating electricity, which is a fuel cell. It takes fuel that you have in your tanks, so you can use that with the miner, and then have the fuel be turned into electricity, which is a different way of doing it as it's opposed to your solar arrays and whatnot. And then you have all of your fairings and whatnot towards the end of the tree. Actually, you start with a fairing fairly early. In fact, I wanted to show it just so you could see. I don't remember where it was at in particular, but you do get a fairing early enough on that it allows for some really cool. Well, you get the service bay pretty early, which is important. But where is that fairing? I gotta remember where it was at. I was just looking at it earlier too. There's one of these. This one. So, that's not too many nodes in. 1, 2, 3, 4. How much are these nodes? 90 science. So you're looking at what, 5 or 10, and then it goes 15, and then 40, and then 90. So that's not too much science before you get your first fairing, and some advanced nose guns. Anyways, that's the tech tree. It changed around a bit. Of course, in the in the recruitment thing, you could see female Kerbals here, such as Fody Kerman or Trishelle Kerman. I personally have Helena and Ermi, and of course Valentina, who is my best pilot. I use her for every dangerous mission because she has the biggest grin on her face the entire time. And of course there's still the upgrading of facilities as you go here. So now that we've seen the parts, we've seen everything else, that's a contract that I can get. I wanted to show you my moon scanner. Now, in this career mode, I've only been to the moon, Minmus, and I just sent something to Jewel. But in particular, this sucker, which is really rad, is my moon scanner, which has one of the new. It's not the best one, but it is the one I'm able to use at the moment, the scanner. So you could toggle this overlay, and suddenly you see, oh, geez, that's no moon, that's a Death Star. No. That it's just the way that you see this, right? So those are all resources, and the thing that you could do is you could switch to the different colors, and I like this one the most because it allows you to really see where the resources are. So if the red parts are, ooh, that's a lot of resource, black parts are just really nothing there, it's pretty bone dry, and the green is pretty mild, and yellow is better. Well, you could turn off the cutoff on this, right? Oops, so let's go the other way. There we go. And you'll see if I go out that I, in fact, have a base, my outpost, in one of the most rich areas. And I haven't set up drills for it yet because I haven't unlocked them in this career mode, but you will see that I am planning for that. We're going to check out my outpost. I'll be honest, my frame rate's going to die because I have a lot of pieces there. But it's just a really cool system to be able to see this, and how well implemented it is makes a huge difference to me. So let's go to the outpost core. There's actually two major pieces set to it, and I'll explain why as my frame rate just dies. So do I actually have lights? I should have lights. All right, so let's light it up a bit. Now, I landed this part as my core, and that's why it's called the outpost core, because this is the main part of it. And it's got the processing lab on it. Previously, the processing lab, you would send data to the processing lab, and then that said processing lab would make it so when you send that data back to Kerbin through, your comms, then it would yield you more science, but it was still more beneficial to get the science direct, and we caught this at the right time. I'm really happy I did too. You would yield more science if you just brought the pieces back anyway, so there really wasn't a point for the processing lab. It kind of sucked. Now, you can set this sucker on, say, the moon, or Minmus, or in orbit around Kerbin, or in orbit around the moon, or in Jool, and just so many different areas, and it will just generate science over time. As you see, the data that I have left to generate here on the moon out of 500 is 192. It's currently generating at 0.23333, repeating, obviously, science per day. It's currently researching, and I can transmit that science, but how much power do I have? I'm going to turn off the lights, because we'll get to that. I got to explain the other two pieces, right? But I currently have, and this is why I said we caught this at the right time, 499.968 out of 500 total science. So it can hold 500 total before you have to transmit it. So let's transmit my science, and we'll just send it off. You'll see it use a little bit of my power as it does so. Now, when I first started this, it does use a bit of energy staying on processing, and I realized I didn't have enough solar panels for this. Ooh, embarrassing. I know, really embarrassing. So what I did is I brought the second piece in, which is my power station, which you see it has its own engines on because I landed it and then drove it over here with this and then docked it up, which was nice, and used all these solar panels, and I actually nicknamed this the Porcupine for good reason. So the solar panels are what generate our power, obviously. Now, we're completely on the dark side of the moon now, so we're not going to be generating much power, but what you'll see is my other module here is actually just for storage of guys. So it's got scientists in here because scientists boost the rate of science that you get. And in fact, in my bay here, if I don't pop those, don't break them. Butt clench. Okay, let's close. No. Don't use at home. This has got all my science stuff in there. And in fact, there's a soil scanner that allows your orbital scanner to be able to be more accurate. So I have that in there, which is why I knew to land here, because this was previously in a different spot. So this just has a ton of people in here, and there's some new science stuff like the fluid spectropherometer, which is an atmospheric analysis, but I don't have that. And I'm using the robotics mod in order to... I had to line this up properly in order to do that, because it's like on weird ground level here. I had to use these to level out the wheels so I can actually dock. Right, all that to say that my scientists are basically getting a lot more experience, and they're generating a lot more science out of the stuff that I transmit back, which is really cool. So this is my moon base. I want to make a Minmus base. I want to make a base everywhere because this is amazing, and you could do this in Kerbal Space Program vanilla now. Before, you could make space, stations and space bases, but there was no real need for it. Now there is, because you can actually use the processing lab. And I like that a lot. And the fact that there's the resources and everything, that's why I have 2 more docking ports here, so I can set up a mine that can mine out resources, and then I can, come and have landers refuel here, or just mine out resources. So that way I can refuel a refueling station in orbit. there's so many like cool things that you could do now, and it is just absolutely brilliant. So let's go back to the Space Center real quick. Now, in the most recent episode of Project Destiny, I don't remember the number. It was like 61, I think. I pulled an aerodynamic maneuver through Joule, which you can't do anymore. This is like one of the last things that I wanted to teach you. So when I did that maneuver, ooh, that's nice. I got that all set up properly. When I did that maneuver, I came in at Joule at about 113,000 meters. And that provided enough resistance through its atmosphere to slow me down. Then that's where we left off in Project Destiny. If your craft is not heat shielded anymore, you're going to blow the heck up if you go into Joule. Just throwing that out there. So make sure that before you do anything with Joule or any planet that has an atmosphere, you have proper shielding. Please, I beg you, don't blow your poor Kerbals up. They don't deserve that. Right, so I just wanted to point that out. And then there's other things here. There's one tip that I wanted to throw out before we finish looking at all of this, which is the fact that, actually I gotta go here. Kerbals cost money when you hire them. So, like, say I wanted to hire Trishelle, because that's a hilarious name. Go. It's not going because I think I'm currently max. I have 10 active crew, and I have ones that are assigned. Okay, well, look, trust me, it costs a lot. In fact, the last time I hired one, it was 200,000 credits, which is, I mean, that's a lot of money. Like, that's this number across there, right? One of the tricks that I've learned with 1.0 going forward that you might want to do is, one, learn how to rendezvous in orbit. If you could do that, this can make this a lot easier. In fact, it's not that difficult. Just watch a couple people do it, and then you'll kind of figure it out on your own. It's not difficult. But there are missions like, rescue. Let's see if I can get one, because I don't see one here. Let's just decline these. Decline. Oh, I can't decline that. Decline that. Nope. Decline that. Okay, none of them are popping up. But it's like rescue. Oh, right there. Rescue this guy from orbit of Kerbin. If you rescue him, he joins the crew, and you don't have to pay for him to join your crew. So that's like my pro tip at the end of all of this is, if you pick up Kerbal Space Program 1.0, you're hiring crew because you're doing all these cool moon bases and whatnot. Just know that hiring crew gets more and more expensive, and the easiest way to get crew, and in fact the easiest way to level up a lot of your crew, is to do like a, pick up a mission to rescue people from Kerbin, the moon, and Minmus, and just send like a bus out to pick all of those people up in one go, and you're not only your Kerbals that you're picking up, along the way, but also the Kerbals that you've taken from the beginning will get all of that extra experience from finishing the contract, and they will join your crew. It's brilliant. I love it. But with that, I think that's been a pretty extensive look at 1.0. There's a lot of stuff here. I didn't even cover most of it. Like, there's still so much more here, and I could have gone way more in depth than I did, but I'm trying to get through it enough. And honestly, as I've said before, if you were waiting to pick up Kerbal Space Program because it was in early access, now is the time to pick it up. Because 1, it's actually released. 2, there's a multiplayer update coming. And 3, there's so much here now that it feels like such a polished game. In fact, reviewers who are reviewing the final copy are giving it like the highest scores that they've given most games. I think PC Gamer gave it a 96, which is one of the highest scores they've ever given. And that's because it is evident that this game is now polished, and it's so freaking fun. Just do yourself a favor if you haven't picked it up, go get it, and just have a lot of fun, especially before it gets higher up in price, which it will inevitably do, unless you're waiting for the Steam Spring Sale, which then it'll probably drop like half. Either way, with all that being said, we shall see you guys next time.